This video will show you how to replace the crankshaft vibration dampener on a Ford Edge. This will be located along the passenger side of your engine. Let's get into it. Okay friend, let's get started on our job. Let's make our way up inside the engine compartment. As we make our way down along the passenger side of the engine, we're looking for our serpentine belt tensioner. Now for our serpentine belt tensioner, we're going to want to have a tool with a 1/2 inch drive. It needs to be a thin wall. We're coming all the way down onto the tensioner. In the tensioner, you're going to find that you have a squared notch. We're pressing our tool into that square notch, and then we're going to pivot this clockwise. Let's just have a quick look down in this area. We're paying attention to our belt routing. It goes over some pulleys and under others. Now, while I hold pressure in this area, I'm carefully reaching down towards my alternator along the front. That's our front upper pulley, and we'll carefully pull the belt off of that pulley. Whenever I remove these, I always like to fully remove the belt so I can thoroughly inspect it. I'm just using a long angled pick. I'll get underneath this belt. Obviously, we're being careful not to cause any damage here. Now I can release tension from my belt tensioner here. We want to be careful with that. It is under spring pressure. The next thing we'll do is fully remove our serpentine belt so we can give it a thorough inspection. Now that I have that out of position, let's go ahead and give it a thorough inspection as I mentioned. The areas that we want to focus would be this ribbed area. Now as I carefully start folding this and I look closely, I can see that the belt is damaged, which is something I might not see if I had not removed it. This belt has to be replaced. We'll safely raise and support the front of the vehicle so the passenger side front wheel's off the ground. After completing that, we're going to remove your center cover and then remove all 5 of your 19mm lug nuts. As far as the center cover, just carefully pry it out of place. Now it's time for our lug nuts. Now that we have the wheel out of the way, let's start dislodging our inside fender liner. We're going to start with some push clips on the inboard side here. As far as these push clips, I'm using a trim tool. We'll carefully start removing the center to unlock it. Once you have it unlocked, you should be able to pull out the outer portion as well. Just a quick inspection of those as we continue on. So as we start dislodging the inside fender liner, I like to make my way down along the bottom next. In this area, you should find that you have 2 5.5mm mounting bolts. Go ahead and remove that one. Let's move along to the next. There's our second. We can move this around. Let's make our way back out from under the vehicle. We have several more bolts up along the edge of the fender liner. So as we make our way out, we have 3 more 5.5mm mounting bolts. We should be able to take hold of the inside fender liner. We're going to carefully start dislodging it so we can make our way in and behind. Now that we have that out of the way, we have a clear view of our harmonic balancer along the passenger side of the engine compartment here. Now as far as this is concerned, looking directly in the center, we can see that we have a 19mm headed mounting bolt. It goes through this balancer all the way into the engine. Now we're going to have to turn this clockwise. As we're turning this, we need to carefully start pulling the power steering belt going from around the harmonic balancer up around the power steering pump pulley. Now as far as this belt, you do want to be aware of pinch points. It's a stretch fit belt. We don't have a tensioner. What we have to do is turn the bolt and the crank pulley. While we're doing that, we're going to carefully start walking the belt off of the power steering pump pulley. Once again, be careful for pinch points. So as I reach up in here, I can take hold of the belt. I'm flexing it outward. I want to start rolling it off of the edge of the pulley. We're only turning this clockwise, never counterclockwise. There we are. Let's fully remove that power steering pump belt. We need to give it a thorough inspection. If it looks like it's cracked or damaged in any way, it needs to be replaced. This belt looks fine. Let's set it aside. After removing that belt, use your 19mm to remove the crankshaft bolt. There's our bolt. To remove the harmonic balancer, we're going to use a harmonic balancer removal tool. My particular tool, I'm going to be using this small rod directly in the center. Slide it all the way in there. Now, as far as the rest of the tool, we need to have one that has 3 locking ears on it. Now, if we were looking at the harmonic balancer, those 3 ears are going to go on these raised areas. The center driver will slide over this rod, will apply pressure, and then continue on pulling this out and away. Let's start getting this in position here. Lining that stud in the center with the rod. We're twisting this clockwise till it bottoms out against those pressure points as I mentioned. Now I'm applying pressure with my driver. My particular tool, I have to use a 24mm to hold the tool, preventing the crank pulley from turning, and I'm using a 24mm on the center driver bolt. We're applying pressure. This should be pulling the pulley out and away. Okay, this is starting to pull away. This is exactly what we're looking for. Let's go ahead and pull that right out of place. And there it is, friend. Prior to installation of any brand new part, of course, we want to make sure we clean and inspect our mounting area. Now we have our crankshaft. We need to make sure that that's smooth. There's no miscellaneous debris or burrs. But we also have the crankshaft seal. That's this rubber portion all the way around. For this, I'm going to clean it. I'm using a clean rag, no detergents. I don't want anything making its way into the engine oiling system. I also don't want to damage the rubber of my seal. After confirming that the seal is still soft and pliable, not torn, worn, or damaged, let's continue on with our installation. Now it's time for installation of our brand new harmonic balancer. Let's get this in position. As we bring this over to being close to being on the shaft, we're sliding it in towards the shaft and pressing towards the engine. You're going to find that it only goes on so far. Continuing on, we need to have an adapter. This adapter would need to screw into the threaded portion inside of our crankshaft. For this, of course, I'm starting it in by hand. I want to be sure I'm not cross-threading it into the wrong positioning. Then, of course, I'm going to snug it up. Now, as far as the installation with my tool in particular, this is the adapter that I have to use. This is going to go up against this outer portion here. In the center, I have my driver. The driver is threaded. That will go onto my adapter. With all that said, let's go ahead and start putting this together. We'll bring this into position. Slide this right up on here like this. Now we're going to tighten the driver onto our adapter first. Now once we have that fully tightened, we need to make sure we tighten this directly onto the driver as far as possible. Now at this point, we want to make sure we're level with the engine. We want to make sure this goes in flush, not off kilter, which could potentially cause damage. To start applying pressure, we're going to hold onto the center shaft area. We're going to turn this adapter clockwise. As we do that, it's going to press this pulley in towards the engine. We'll keep tightening until it bottoms out. Let's go ahead and start turning this adapter. If we do find that the entire crankshaft wants to spin, we'll be holding this outer portion. You may not have to. I'll use a wrench as far as I can. We can switch to a socket as necessary. For my tool in particular, I'm using a 1 1/16 inch wrench. There we are. So I feel as though I have this so it's bottomed out. I'm feeling along the inboard side, in between my harmonic balancer or vibration dampener in the engine, I can feel a small gap. I'm just going to double check to make sure I'm completely bottomed out. We don't want to leave this loose. If we did, the belt's not going to seat properly. Now to make sure that I do not turn this counterclockwise, I have my wrench in place. I'm using a secondary wrench on the center. We'll start turning this adapter counterclockwise, releasing pressure. We do not want to turn the engine crankshaft counterclockwise. Start removing that tool. We'll make sure we remove our adapter. Now it's time to install the mounting bolt. You can see that I've applied clean motor oil directly onto the threaded area of the bolt. We'll take this and we're bringing it into position. I'm bottoming it out by hand. I do not want to cross thread this. Now when we go to tighten and torque this, it has to be done in a specific sequence. Let's start by torquing it the first time to 89 foot-pounds. When you go to turn this, you may find it wants to spin on you. Now if that is the case, you could use a rubber band wrench around the harmonic balancer, preventing it from spinning. Or you could carefully use a small pry bar directly through this area, hitting up against the timing chain cover, causing no damage. This should help prevent this from turning on us. So I have my rubber band wrench. I'm going to make sure that this is going to help prevent this from turning clockwise, so I have it set up in the proper orientation here. Here we are. There we are. Now we need to loosen this one full turn. After that, we'll continue on retorquing it to 37 foot-pounds. After you have that torqued, we need to continue on an additional 90 degrees, which is essentially a quarter turn. Nice and loose. So since I'm going 90 degrees, I'm attempting to go all the way over towards one side. I'll continue on swinging this down approximately 90 degrees, quarter turn here. There we are. That's about as close as I can get with that. Now it's time for installation of our stretch fit power steering pump belt. As for this belt, we're going to take it and we're starting it around our harmonic balancer. It needs to be on the inboard area where we can see the inboard grooves. Now that I have that slid into place on the harmonic balancer, I'm going to start focusing on where it goes around my power steering pump pulley next. When we go to install this belt, you're going to find that it will be under pressure. So what we're going to do is carefully start bringing it down underneath our power steering pump pulley. I'm aligning it with my grooves on the pulley itself. Now while I hold pressure here, we're making our way towards the harmonic balancer mounting bolt. Use your 19mm. Carefully turn this clockwise, driving the belt into place. Make sure it does not fall off of either of the pulleys and cause damage. Also make sure you don't get stuck in a pinch point. Just pressing this on. Like I said, I'm being aware of any pinch points. This is the most important part. Be safe as possible the entire way. I can feel some pressure here. This is what we're looking for. Just double check up along the top of the crank. We want to make sure this does not walk off into the wrong positioning. We'll take this around several times, confirming that the belt is properly seated on each and every one of the pulleys as we continue on here. On the top, all sides. Perfect. Now one last quick inspection in this area and we can reinstall our fender liner. Now that I have this in the fully rested position, I always like to start with my push clips first. As far as each one of the push clips, you need to have them in the unlocked position. You're driving in the outer portion, locking it in by pressing in the center. Repeat the process for all others. Now we have our mounting bolts making our way down the fender liner and bumper cover. Once we're done out here, we're going under the front for our 2 mounting bolts there as well. Adjust your bumper cover as necessary. Now from under the front bumper cover, we're aligning our hardware here. There's that one. Make our way over. Double check to make sure that's secured in place. Let's prepare to install our wheel. Now that I have this in place, I'm going to start on all 5 of my 19mm lug nuts. I'm going to bottom these out in a crisscross manner, get the wheel safely on the ground. After that, torque each one of the lug nuts to 100 foot-pounds. Now I've got the wheel safely on the ground so it will not move. Let's go ahead and torque each one of these lug nuts to that 100 foot-pounds in a crisscross manner. Torqued. If you have a center cover, install that now. As far as the center cover, we want to make sure that we align the lug holes, tap it into position, double check to make sure it's secured. Now we can make our way up under the hood. Now it's time for installation of our serpentine belt. Now as for the serpentine belt, we need to carefully make our way all the way down towards the bottom. Once I get down to the bottom, I need to try to get over my crank pulley, over the AC pulley along the front bottom, and then I'm trying to go all the way up towards the alternator. Now I'm going to find that I can only go so far because I have to relieve tension from my tensioner. Of course, if you're working from up top, you can use a long pick to guide things as necessary. See if we can use this pry bar. Now I want to try to hold this on along the rearward pulley as I continue on along my AC compressor pulley, which is the bottom front. There we are. Now at this point, before I continue on applying pressure on the belt, bringing it up towards my alternator but under my tensioner, I'm going to make my way up to the tensioner using my 1/2-inch drive ratchet here. We'll start applying some pressure, relieving tension from the area here so we can get the belt in the proper position. Get some swing there. Okay, at this point I have the belt over all of my pulleys, but as I look closely, I can see that I am displaced on my AC compressor pulley along the front. If I was to leave it like this, start the vehicle and run it, I could cause damage to the belt or other engine components. Pay close attention to the belt and the belt routing. Go ahead and slide this into place. We'll continue on. So at this point, as I'm looking closely, it does look as though I'm sitting over each one of my pulleys properly. Now at this point, I can release tension from that belt tensioner, just start pivoting it back to its rested position, remove our tool. Okay friend, we finished the installation of our harmonic balancer. Now the next thing we want to do is go ahead and start up the vehicle. We're going to let it run for 5 seconds, turn it right back off. You're coming back out here and you're going to triple check both of the belts, confirming they're properly seated on each one of the pulleys as they need to be. After that, you can go ahead and restart the vehicle and take it for a road test. Thanks for watching.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.